Salvete omnes. Ego sum Magister Sullivan. So we're back with Caesar, Book 5, Chapter 25, where Caesar has some fun with the Carnutes. So where last we met, Caesar was carving up his winter quarters and keeping them within a safe distance, all due to lack of grain or to a poorer grain turnout than normal. All right, so here we go. So there was among the Carnutes uh, Tascatius, and then having been born, so Tascatius having been born, of or in or with a or the highest or in the highest location or place. This is referring to his social status. Um, whose uh, ancestors or whose elders had obtained. Here's our pluperfect verb. Had obtained the kingdom. Here's our object. In their own state. To this man, Caesar, on behalf of his, again, Aius is probably going to refer to to Tascatius, whose courage and kindness towards Caesar, towards him, um, because in all the wars, all the battles, all the wars, he had been uh, a, he had been useful, or he had been use in the singular, or in his singular um, effort or work. Here we finally have our main verb, and again, he had restored the place of his elders. Again, to Tascatius. So now, um, so now, here's our main verb. They killed the one ruling. So that man ruling in this third year. And the enemies, this is the subject of this verb. The enemies with many with many being the authors openly of this state. This affair, this deed, this matter is carried down to Caesar. And so that one, fearing, so Caesar fearing, that man fearing, because since although it was pertaining to many, that. So this is a fearing clause, because this verb means to fear, so the participle really. And so ne is actually going to make it that instead of not. So it's going to be the opposite. That their state, that their state would be lacking with or in impulse or response. So he orders. Here's our main verb. Lucius Plancus. Here's our infinitive. To set out with a legion from the territory of the Belgae quickly into the Carnutes, or into the territory of the Carnutes, and to winter there, and to send those having been apprehended, having been arrested, to himself, meaning to Caesar. and of which or of whom, by the work he had learned, that Tescetium or Tescetius had been killed. And so, meanwhile, put a comma here. Caesar was made more certain by all his legates and his quaestors, to whom he had handed over his legions. Because he was made more certain, we're going to have an indirect statement that there should be an essay here, that it had been arrived into the winter quarters, and that the place had been fortified for the winters. Right, so that's that. So we learned that Tescetius, who is a guy that Caesar helped his family get back into power, or he himself to get back into power because he was useful, courageous and strong and kind to Caesar. We learned that he's been killed, and so Caesar sends Lucius Plancus into that territory to figure out kind of what happened, and then to bring those responsible for Tescetius's death to himself. And Caesar learns some good news that the winter fortifications or the winter quarters have been fortified and arrived at. All right, so that's it for Caesar, Book 5, Chapter 25. We'll be back. Curate ut valietis omnes. Valete.